Today, I would like to talk to you about vaccine hesitancy in the community of Warrensville Heights, Ohio, and the greater Cleveland area in which our church, the Aldersgate United Methodist Church, is located. Some time ago, I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Margaret McKenzie, and she is the president of South Pointe Hospital, which is a Cleveland Clinic hospital here in the community. And I had intended to post the interview as soon as it was done, but then our numbers began to fall, and I just thought that maybe we were out of the woods, and so I didn't need to sound the alarm about the fact that many in our community were not getting the shots. And then when things turn recently with the Omicron variant, I figure I better post the interview that I had with Dr. McKenzie, because it is very telling where we are and where we need to be. Before I play that interview, I just want to start by saying that there was a priest, a German priest, in the 1600s. His name was Martin Luther. He is better known as the one of the leaders of the Protestant Reformation. I came across on the internet where churches were indicating that Martin Luther has said some things that were taken completely out of context. And I'm not sure why people would do this. It's all right for you to be an anti-vaxxer and to try to put forth your agenda and whatever your point of views might be. But is another thing to post online to people who do not have all of the information, and to suggest that somehow your point of view is corroborated by people who would be in the know. Now, the reason that Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, Dr. King and his father changed their names to Martin Luther from Michael, because Martin Luther was the original reformer. That said, Martin Luther, the German priest reformer, lived during the plague called the Black Death, or the bubonic plague, that was sweeping across Europe and killing thousands of people. So Martin Luther was a priest. He had a parish. He was also a university professor in the town of Wittenberg. And the powers that be told Martin Luther that he needed to leave, and before he became one of the victims, and he refused to leave. He said that he had a parish and he had people that he had to take care of, and so others might want to leave, but he did not think that he would be doing God's work if he were to flee. Now, on the internet, people were posting these words from Martin Luther. They said that Martin Luther said, concerning the plague. Therefore, I will ask God mercifully to protect us. I shall not avoid places or person, but will go freely. Again, I said, I don't know why someone would, on purpose, take these words out of context. This is what Martin Luther really said. He said, therefore, I shall ask God to mercifully protect us. Then I shall fumigate, help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it. If God would wish to take me, he will surely find me, and I have done what he expected me to do. If my neighbor needs me, however, I shall not avoid person or place, but will go freely. You see how the original phrase that I read takes this whole thing out of context. He says, he didn't say, I'm just going to go wherever I want to go. He says, I'm not going to leave because I am obligated to help these people who are dependent on me. I will fumigate, purify the air, administer medicine, and take the medicine. And if my neighbors need me, I will go freely and I will help them out. So I am at a loss for words as to why people will take those words out of context and try to tell people who are in God's church that this great man advises them just to trust in God willy-nilly. Don't take medicines, don't take the vaccines, don't do any of that. And these are not the words of Luther. As a matter of fact, I read some more from what he said. This is his advice to another reformer who lived about 200 miles away from Wittenberg, where Luther was. And this reformer had written to ask Luther's advice on what he should do, because the plague would soon be moving across Germany to where he lived. So Luther writes back and says, you ought to think this way. Very well, by God's decree, the enemy has sent us poison and deadly offal. Therefore, I shall ask God mercifully to protect us. Then I shall fumigate, help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it. I shall avoid places and persons where my presence is not needed, in order not to become contaminated and thus perchance infect and pollute others, and so cause their death as a result of my negligence. So what he's saying is that he would do all that he can, and whatever medicines were available, he would administer. He would also take it, and he would not go to places where that he can avoid going to, because he does not want to contaminate other people. And he goes on to say, if God should wish to take me, he surely will find me, and I have done what he has expected me to do, and so I am not responsible either for my own death or for the death of others. If my neighbors need me, however, I shall not avoid places or person, but go freely. That avoiding persons or places has to do with his insistence that if his neighbors need him, he will be there. Luther is also very much contemptuous for people he called the resistors. He called them resistors. He says they are much too harsh, and he says they are much too harsh and reckless, tempting God and disregarding everything which might counteract death and the plague. They disdain the use of medicines. They do not avoid places and persons infected by the plague, but lightheartedly make sport of it and wish to prove how independent they are. They say that it is God's punishment. If he wants to protect them, then he will do so without medicines or their carefulness. This is not trusting God, but tempting God. God has created medicines and provided us with intelligence to guard and to take good care of the body so that we can live in good health. He continues, if one makes no use of intelligence or medicine when he could do so without detriment to his neighbor, such a person injures his body and must beware lest he become a suicide in God's eyes. By the same reason, a person might forego eating and drinking, clothing and shelter, and boldly proclaim his faith, that if God wanted to preserve him from starvation and cold, he would do so. Without food and without clothing. Actually, that would be suicide. It is even more shameful for a person to pay no heed to his body and to fail to protect it against the plague the best he is able, and then to infect and poison others who might have remained alive if he had taken care of his body as he should have. He is thus responsible before God for his neighbor's death and is a murderer many times over. If you like, you can Google Martin Luther response to Johann Questler, asking him about the plague of 1527. So what I've shared with you is a background and some information that corrects what you may have seen or read, or someone may have posted, and you have seen it, and you may have said that if Martin Luther could say that God will take care of me, then it must be the gospel truth. I'm not here to suggest that you don't have it that way with God, and that God is taking care of you. But it is also true that, as Martin Luther said, that God give us intelligence and medicines, and we should not tempt God by acting as if God does not heal us the way God healed in the Bible, then we are not going to help ourselves with the remedies that we have. So now, having cleared that up,